configuring CDP, DHCP and NTP on Cisco routers. Now first CDP. CDP means Cisco Discovery Protocol. This Cisco Discovery Protocol is the proprietary data link layer protocol, and it is developed by this Cisco system, and it runs on all Cisco manufactured equipments including routers, bridges, access and communication servers and switches. CDP protocol is used by Cisco to find out information about neighboring Cisco devices. Now, using CDP, you can view the information about all the Cisco devices directly attached to the Cisco and switches and router. So basically it is the discovery protocol which discovers the neighboring devices. Whatever it is, switches, routers and all that. Now network management application can retrieve the device type and SNMP agent address of neighboring Cisco devices using CDP. So this protocol also helps the other services or the other applications to get the information about the neighbors. So this enables application to send SNMP queries to neighboring devices. Now SNMP is also a protocol. It is called Simple Network Management Protocol. It is to manage and view the network devices, status of the network devices. So this CDP also helps this SNMP protocol for the queries. We will see this SNMP also in later lectures. Now CDP allows network management application to discover Cisco devices that are neighbors of already known devices in a particular neighbors running lower layer transport protocols. Now CDP runs on all media that supports subnetworks access protocol, that is SNAP, including LAN and frame relay. And Cisco devices never forward CDP packets, but when new CDP information is received, Cisco devices discard old informations. Now what is the default configuration for the CDP? So first, the default configuration for the global CDP is enable. So by default in all the Cisco devices the CDP is enabled. Then CDP port enable status, that means for all the ports we have in the routers or switches, what is the status of those ports? So it is enabled. It is enabled, that means they will exchange the messages on those interfaces. CDP messages interval is 60 seconds. That means in every 60 seconds they send and send the messages to the neighboring devices, and whatever the information they get from the neighboring devices, they can hold that information to this hold down time, and that is 180 seconds. So they hold this information to 180 seconds. Then for enabling the CDP, now by default it is already enabled, but if you like to enable this CDP, then we can give command in the global configuration mode, that is CDP run. CDP run, and that will do what? Enable the CDP. And if we want to disable the CDP, then very simple, we can disable it by the interface, or we can disable it by the global configuration. That means globally we can disable it directly, or we can disable it by the interface wise. Now to get the information and get the timer, so get the CDP timer and hold down information, we can give the command show CDP. Show CDP will show the information about the current CDP, like what is the CDP, is it enable or disable, and what is the update time and what is the hold down time. So when you run the simple command show CDP, it will inform about the CDP information status, that is the global status, whether it is enabled or not, and then it shows that CDP update timer and the hold down timer. Now if we want to change the hold down timer, then we can run the CDP timer command to change. Let's see this first. So this is the network here. Now suppose I go to this router 3 and I go to the CLI. Now by default CDP is running, so if we want to get the information, you can run show CDP and it shows the current information. It says the global CDP information is that the CDP packet is sending every 60 seconds and CDP holding time is what, 180 seconds, and sending CDP version 2 advertisement is enabled. So basically it is sending CDP version 2. So what it is doing here, so this is the router. So what it do here, after every 60 seconds it sends the CDP packet to the neighboring devices. So it send it onto this side. So this side we have router 2 connected, and in this side it send, and it is router 4 here. So it will send this time this side also, on also this side. In this side we have Cisco device, Cisco switch. So what, when the packet says the Cisco, when it sends a CDP packet here in this side, so this router 2 is also Cisco device. So what it will do, it will send the reply, and in the reply it send its own information that I am this and this is my all information. In this side router 4 will send the information to router 3, and in this side, from this side, this switch will also send the information to router 3. Now this information it will store here in this router 3. So we can check the information, and also this information can be used by the other services or applications. Now if suppose it send after 60 seconds, when it sends a request to this side, CDP request, and in this time the router 2 is not available, or maybe the switch is not available, so it will not remove the information about that router or this switch until 180 seconds. It will wait for until 180 seconds. It is actually triple of the update time. So one request it sends and never it does not get reply, still it will keep the update about that router. Then second request, again if it is not getting any reply, but still it will remain the it will remain the information, it will not remove. Then when the third time when it sends the information, the sending of the request, and still it does not get the reply, that means 180 seconds is completed. Now this time what it will do, it will consider that the device is dead and it will remove the device information from the router. So this is the simple way CDP works. Now if we want to check the information about the router or the devices closest to this neighbor devices, then we can give here the question mark, and we can see what these information. We can see the information about the neighbors, we can see the information status about the interface, that will be the CDP configuration status of the interfaces. Then we can check the entry of the CDP information. So suppose I want to see the neighbors here, so I will give command show CDP neighbors. So right now you can see it is showing the CDP information here about the neighbors, and it is saying that this is the device ID, and that is switch, router 4 and router 2. Now remember, this device ID is actually the host name. By seeing the host name, we cannot decide that which is the device, which device is router and which device is switch. You cannot say by the name. Names could be any. This device ID is basically the host name. So if we want to see which device is actually switch or which device is router, then we have to check the capability. So capability S means what? It is switch, and capability R means what? It is the router. Where is it? Capital R, and it is what? Router. And these are the other device capabilities codes. So you can match the capability code and you can see that which is the switch and which is the router. Then it is showing here that which interface is connected to the device locally. That means from this router 3, which interface is connecting to the switch, which interface is connecting to router 4, and which interface is connecting to router 2. Then here it is showing the hold down time. That means last 166 seconds before the information from this switch was came. And if you run the command again, then you will see the change in the time. You can see the time is reducing and then re-update. If you see here, it was 121 and after that it becomes again 179. That means when you remove 60 from 180, it will be 120. So after 60 seconds, it updates the time again and it becomes 180 again. Now these ones are still going on 60 seconds. Now they have also updated. So you can see they are updating and the hold down time is decreasing. It is decreasing, and when it reaches to 120, then again they will send the update and get the request, send the request, get the update, and the information will be updated. Then here it says information about the platform, the version of that switches and the routers. You can see it is mentioning the platform of those switches, and then here it is showing the remote port. Remote port, that means this router is connected to the switch and this is the switch port which is connecting to the router, and the other side router 4 is connected from serial 0/0. Router 2 is connected from 0/1. We can verify by the design here. So we can see here the router 2 is connected with the serial 0/2, 0/1, and router 4 is connected from 0/0 and switch is connected from 0/1. So this is the information it is showing. About the router. About the neighbors of this router 3. Now if we want to get the detailed information, then we can use neighbors details and it will show you the detailed information, and detailed information is like this. So here I run the command. When you run the command detail, then what it shows here, that this is the device ID switch, this is the entry address. Now entry address it is not showing because on switch interfaces we don't configure IP addresses. Now here it is showing the information about the platform port, which port it is connected locally and which port is connecting from the switch. Then hold down time in seconds, then it is showing the version information, iOS version, bootstrap version, everything. Then advertisement version 2, this is CDP version 2, and duplex, it is in full duplex. Then you go down here, then it is showing the information about the other router, router 4, and the router 4 IP address is this, the device information and port information. Then here it is showing the information about the version of that router, iOS version, and then full duplex, and then the next is router 2, and router 2 is with this IP address, this is the device information, port information, and this is the information about the router software and hardware. So this is the detailed information we see here. Then we can check the CDP. We can check the CDP entry. Entry, that means we can check a particular entry, like we want to see only router 2. So I'll give only I want to see router 2. So it is showing only about router 2. So we can see a particular entry of the router CDP. Then we can check the interface status. We can check the CDP status for the particular interface. For example, I want to see the status about fast Ethernet 0/0. So it is saying here that on fast Ethernet 0/0, the line protocol is up, the port is up, and CDP is also enabled, and it is sending the packet every 60 seconds on that port, and the hold down time for that port is also 180. Now we don't have to run the CDP because it is by default enabled in every Cisco devices. That is why we are seeing this information. Now if we want to disable the CDP, then we can disable the CDP on particular interface, or we can disable the CDP on globally, that means totally on the router. Now why we need to disable? Sometime what happens, suppose sometime what happened, this is router 3 and the switch which is connected to router 3 is, suppose it is not a Cisco switch. Now if it is not a Cisco switch, then when the router sends the CDP request, the switch will not respond. So if the switch is not responding, then there is no point of having a CDP request, no point of sending request to this switch. So what we can do here, we can disable the CDP on this particular interface, so that our router will not send the CDP request to this port, to this interface, and it will not send the request to this switch. So we can do that by disabling the CDP on a particular interface. So from that side we will not do any request and reply for CDP. So if we want to disable the CDP from some particular port, then what we can do this by going into that port. So right now on this port, this switch is connected, and before 130 seconds it was updated. Now I want to disable CDP on that port, so I will go to config mode, I will go to that interface, and then I will say no CDP enable. Remember, the command is CDP enable, it is command to enable the CDP. Now I want to disable the CDP, so I am saying no CDP enable. This is the easy way in Cisco to remove any configuration. We start with no, and we start with no with the command. So I say no CDP enable. Now when we check show CDP interface fast Ethernet 0/0, then it is saying no information because the CDP is disabled. Now when I check show CDP neighbor information, now it is saying here, you can see it is still showing switch here, and the time is, hold down time is 129. Now you will see it will keep reducing. Now you see others will update, but this one will keep reducing. Now we see here, this one after 120 it goes back to 178 again, that means goes back to 180 again, but this one is not going back because we have disabled CDP on this interface. So no request, no reply, but it is not removing it here because it will hold for 180 seconds. So it will hold for the 180 seconds the information, and it will hold, and after that it will remove. So it will hold the information and it will keep try after every 60 seconds. So if it does not get any reply, then it will do what? After 3 requests, when it does not get any reply, then it will remove the information from the CDP information. It will remove from the CDP. So this information will be removed after 62 seconds because we have disabled. Seconds, 28 seconds, and I think now, okay, 12 seconds. So it is going to be removed. 9 seconds, 7 seconds, 5 seconds, and 1, and gone. It is 0 now, and now it is gone. So when the the hold down timer gets 0, you can see the information of that switch is now removed. So this is how we can disable the CDP on a particular interface. Now if we want to disable it completely from global configuration, then we can just go to the configuration command and we'll run command. CDP run is the command to enable the CDP, but right now it is already enabled, so I will run no CDP run, and this will do what? It will disable the CDP globally. Now when you check show CDP command, it says the CDP is not enabled. So now CDP is disabled, it is not doing any exchange from any interfaces. So if we want to enable the CDP again, then again we will go to the configuration mode, we will run command CDP, and if we put a question mark here, you will see CDP run to enable the CDP. Now because it is packet tracer, so it is not giving other options here. Other option to change the timer or start the version, different version. So it is not giving those options here, because it is what? It is a packet tracer, it is virtual, so we don't have any other information to do. We can just enable or disable the CDP. Now it is enabled. Also I will enable it from the interface. So for enabling it from here, I will say CDP enable. And now when I check show CDP, now it is start collecting the information from neighbors. So you see, when I run the CDP and in the configuration mode, when I run CDP and I give a question mark, so I did not get these options, timer or to enable or disable with these other options. With the advertisement version, we can select the version for the CDP, we can select the hold down timer, we can change the hold down timer, we can enable or disable, we can change the timer for the packet to be sent, update timer. So we can change all these settings from the global configuration mode after the CDP command. But in a packet tracer, when I give question mark, it shows only CDP run, because in packet tracer we don't have these other options. We can only run or we can only no run. We can enable or disable only. When you run the command on the real router, then you will get the option to change the timer and all that. So to get the information, we can run show CDP. We can change the hold down timer also by using CDP timer command, and we can mention whatever timer we want. We can change the timer from 5 seconds to 250 seconds, 254 seconds. Then we can change the hold down timer also from 10 to 255 seconds within this. Then we can get the neighbor information by using show CDP neighbors command. It will show all the neighbors information like device ID. So when you run show CDP neighbors command, it will show you the information about the neighbors. This is the brief information. It is not detailed information. So if you want, then you can get the detailed information with the command show CDP details, neighbors details. So when we get the information of the neighbors, so it is including with the neighbors device ID, which is the host name, then the local port, type and number, then the hold down time in second, then the neighbors network device capability, whether it is switch or router, then neighbors hardware platform, and then neighbors remote port, type and number. Now show CDP entry, that means if you want to see any particular entry of the router or device with the device ID. So you can check a particular entry with the device ID. Suppose it shows router 1. So you want to see the information about router 1, then you can give show CDP entry for router 1. So it will show you the detail about that router 1. And if you want to see the detail of the neighbor, then you can run source GDP neighbors detail, and it will show the detailed information about the router. Now what information it shows in the detail? Device ID. This is the name of the neighbor device and either the MAC address or the serial number of the device. Then entry address is the list of network addresses of the neighbor devices. Then the network protocol address, that is the network address of the neighbor's device. The address can be IP, IPX, AppleTalk, DECnet or CLNS protocol conventions. Platform, that means the product name and number of the neighbor device. Then the capability, the device type of the neighbors. This device can be a router, bridge, transparent bridge, source routing bridge, a switch, host, an IGMT device or a repeater. Then interface, the protocol and the port number of the port on the current device. Then hold down timer, the remaining amount of time in seconds the current device will hold the CDP advertisement for a transmitting router before discarding it. Versions about the software version of the neighbor device. Duplex mode, the duplex state of the connection between the current device and the neighbor device. Is it half or full duplex? Then native VLAN, the ID number of the VLAN on the neighboring device if it is there. Then VTP management domain also. So if we have VTP created, then its string, that is the name of the collective group of VLANs associated with the neighboring device. So if the neighboring device is the switch, so it will show the VTP management domain also. We can check CDP traffic also. CDP traffic, that means how many packets are sent and how many packets are received. How many checksums, errors and fails, no memory, invalid, fragments, CDP version advertisement, how many advertisement it has sent and how many advertisement it has get for version 1 or version 2. This one is also not available here in this router. You see, I say show CDP. So we have only these options: entry, interface or neighbors. We don't have the other options to check because it is not a real router. So on a real router I can run source CDP traffic also. And what it shows here, it shows this output of the CDP traffic is this, the total packet output, input, the CDP version packets which we have sent and received. Then HDR syntax, this is the number of CDP advertisement with bad headers and received by the local device. And checksum errors, that means the number of times the checksum, that is verification operation, failed on the incoming CDP advertisement. Encapsulation failed, this is the number of times the CDP fails the transmission advertisement. On an interface, because of the failure caused by the local device. And bridge port, no memory, this means the number of times the local device did not have enough memory to store the CDP advertisement in the advertisement cache table. And when the device was attempting to assemble advertisement packets for transmission and first them when receiving them. So basically when it is not having a memory to store the information about the advertisement of CDP. Invalid, the number of invalid CDP advertisement received and transmitted by the local device. Fragmented, that means the number of times fragmented or portions of a single CDP advertisements were received by the local device instead of complete advertisement. CDP version 1, version 2, output and input. It is the version 1 output and input device, CDP information or CDP advertisement. So how many times these things happens, you can see here the numbers. Total packets, how many header errors, checksum error, encapsulation failed, how many times it says no memory, invalid or fragmented problem, and how many times we have sent and received the version 2 and version 1 CDP advertisements. So this all we will see when we run the source CDP traffic command. Then show CDP interface will show you the information status about the CDP on the particular interface. That the protocol is enabled, the line protocol is enabled, what is the encapsulation, what is the CDP sending packet in second and hold down timer. It will show you information about, and if you use it on serial interface, then it will show you the encapsulation also about the interface, and again hold down timer and send timer. Now this is CDP we have. Now this is Cisco proprietary, so it will only work on Cisco devices. Now there is another version of the CDP protocol, another thing like CDP protocol for the other version of the other devices, like this is where there is no Cisco devices. So there is also one protocol is work. It works. It is LLDP, that is Link Local Discovery Protocol. It is also there, but not on Cisco devices. On Cisco devices, it uses by default Cisco CDP, but LLDP is also there. That will be used on non-Cisco devices, because CDP will not work on non-Cisco devices. The work is same. The working is same. It is working like same CDP, and commands are almost same. Like if you want to check the information about CDP LLDP, then the commands are also same, and it works same, but it works on non-Cisco devices. Now in our devices, which is Cisco devices, you can see this show LLDP. This is what for non-Cisco devices, and what right now it is not enabled. So if your devices are not Cisco, like for example, your neighboring devices are not Cisco, your device is Cisco, but your neighboring devices are not Cisco, then you can use this LLDP. So all your devices must be enabled with the LLDP. Right now we don't need it because our all devices are CDP. So we don't need this LLDP. But if we don't have any Cisco devices, then we can use LLDP. So in case either our all devices are not Cisco, or suppose your device is Cisco but other devices are not Cisco, then the devices they will not able to use CDP, so they will use LLDP, and then in your device also you have to use LLDP. Whether your device is Cisco, but still the CDP will not work, so you have to disable the CDP and you have to start the LLDP for other devices. Now in this case all the devices are Cisco, so if I want to use LLDP, then I have to disable in all the devices, I have to disable the CDP, and then I have to enable the LLDP to work. But they work same. Now the next thing is DHCP. DHCP means Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. And why we use it? We use it in our network. All end user devices need an IP addresses to access the network. Static IP addresses are usually assigned to routers, management interfaces, on switches, servers and other devices on the network, which do not change the location either specifically or logically. So static IP addresses are also used to access the and manage this device remotely. Now on the other hand, user devices such as computers, smartphones, IP phones and others are likely to change their locations either physically or logically. So this means that assigning them static IP addresses would be an unviable solution. So DHCP is a protocol that was invented to address these problems, and DHCP port number is 67 for the server, and with DHCP we can assign IP addresses information to user nodes automatically, which saves on the administrative overhead that would be involved in assigning IP addressing information to client statically. When we go for static IP address configuration, that means it is a very big task. If we have 10-20 machines, then it can be handled, but suppose you are having 100-500 machines, then it is very difficult to assign IP addresses statically. So for that, what we can do, we can use DHCP. Now DHCP do what? This is the operations of DHCP. Its job is to assign the IP address. Simple. IP address information, that means all the information related to IP address. Assigning IP addressing information to user device is one of the most important tasks that are performed by the DHCP server in our network, and it completes this task in one of three ways. First, manual IP allocation. That is what in this type DHCP allocation, the network administrator assigns user with IP addresses from the DHCP server, and then the DHCP server communicates this information to the client. Other automatic IP allocation. In this mode, the DHCP server assigns static IP addresses to client from a pool, and these addresses do not change unless the administrator configure it differently. Then dynamic IP configuration, dynamic IP allocation. In this mode, the administrator configure a pool of addresses which can be assigned to client, and the client then requests the IP addressing information from the DHCP server, and they are giving an IP address and other addresses information for a particular time period. When the time expires, the IP addresses is returned to the DHCP pool, and the client has to request another IP addresses. So basically we configure DHCP server in dynamic allocation, dynamic IP allocation. Automatic IP allocation or manual IP allocation is like a mapping some IP addresses from DHCP. Like we configure a fixed addresses from DHCP, that every time when this client asks for the address, you have to provide this IP address. That settings are available on DHCP servers. Other than that, we use dynamic IP allocation. In that, it uses the process DORA. It uses this DORA process to allocate the IP addresses to client. And how it works? It works like this. This is your DHCP server. This is your PC. Now when you put your PC on IP allocation, automatic IP allocation, then what your PC do? It sends the DHCP discover broadcast, so that everyone will get the request. It is like a request to get the IP address. And it sends the request to everyone. It is a broadcast. So in all the machines within the network will get the request, and nobody will send the reply, only DHCP server will reply, and it will send this broadcast on port number 67. So port number 67 of DHCP is enabled on this DHCP server, so it accepts the request on port number 67, and other devices in the network will not accept, because they are not listening on that port, because they are not DHCP server. So when client sends a discover broadcast, only DHCP server accepts it. Now DHCP server will do what? It will do offer, and offers will be unicast. Now how it is unicast? Because remember, this client does not have any IP address, so it is trying to get the IP address from DHCP. So if it is not have any IP addresses, so it does not know what is the network and who is the DHCP server. This client does not know anything. That's why it do broadcast. But when the server sends an offer, now it knows the MAC address of this PC, because when it sends the broadcast, so source address none, destination address none, but the source MAC address is there. Source MAC address of this PC will be there, and the destination MAC address, again it is the broadcast address, because it does not know about the DHCP server. So because it is adding the source MAC address of its own, when the DHCP server sends the offer, it goes unicast to that MAC address. So it will not go anywhere else, it will directly go to this PC, because it is unicasting the offer to that particular PC. It is offering, what is it is offering? It is offering an IP from the pool. In the DHCP server, we create a pool of IP addresses. We create a pool of IP addresses that we will say that this range is available to allocate, and this is the pool of IP addresses. Now one of the IP from that pool, the DHCP server will check that is it free, is it available, then it will offer to this client PC. Now client PC will do it will do what? It knows that I need an IP, so it will request it for the DHCP server. Again it will do broadcast, It does not know anything about DHCP server again. So it will do what? It will do the broadcast and it will again say, okay, I want to accept this IP address, request it. And then the DHCP server will do what? It will note the request here. It will add into the database the information that this client, I have given this IP, and for this time, that means the lease time. So it will add the information in the database that this IP is given to this machine for this time, so that the IP will not be given to any other machine within that time. And then it will send the unicast acknowledgement that yes, I have added that IP into database, now you can use that IP. And then what? The PC will use that IP and apply it on yours on its system, and it will start the interface. And this process is also called DORA. DORA means discover D, offer O, request R, and acknowledge A. DORA. So this is the process to allocate the IP address from DHCP. And what it assigns? It assigns the IP address, the subnet mask, the gateway, the DNS server. It assigns everything. Now configuring router as DHCP. Now write down a range of IP addresses that should not be allocated by the DHCP server. In most cases, these are statically assigned IP addresses that have been configured. Create a pool of assignable IP addresses using the command ipdhcp pool in the global configuration mode. Configure the information that is needed in the pool, such as the default gateway, subnet mask, domain name, and all that. Excluding IP address means we can exclude some IP addresses also from the router's configuration of DHCP. Switch management interface and server from DHCP. The device we will exclude from participating in DHCP have been configured with the static IP addresses. So suppose we are configuring a pool of IP addresses, like I am saying IP from 1 to 254 should be given to machines if anybody asks for the IP. So this is the pool. This is the pool from 1 to 254 is the pool. Now I want to use some IP statically from that pool. Like we have only the IP address available, this 1 to 254. But I have some servers and I don't want to have dynamic IP on those servers. I want to assign those important servers in static IP. I want to assign the static IP on those servers. So what? I will exclude those IPs from the pool. We will give a total pool that I want to use this pool, but from that pool I will exclude that particular IP or IPs, so that I can use those IP on some servers, some important servers. I can configure those IPs statically, and we can configure exclusion like this, and we can create the pool by using this command. Now in first place, why I create DHCP server, DHCP on router? Remember this thing, that basically we don't do this. We don't configure DHCP on routers. Now why we don't do this? Because the router is already having a very large traffic, and it is processing already a large traffic, and you want to put another load of managing DHCP on the same router. It is not good. It is not a good idea. So basically, if you are having a big network, so you should not put an extra load on router to manage DHCP. You should have a separate DHCP server, and that you can configure on in your network, whether it is Windows or Linux device. You can configure the DHCP server on that devices. You should not configure a router as a DHCP server, because it can be difficult for the router to manage the traffic and also manage the DHCP. It is very difficult sometimes. As you see the network, that means if suppose this is the network here, and here if I have 500 machines, so when those machines try to go outside or try to come, the traffic is coming from the outside to those machines. then what, this router is actually handling the routing for all those 500 machines, and it is actually very much load. So we should not put extra load on this router. It is also doing the routing. Maybe we have configured the access lists on these routers, so it is also processing access list. And also maybe I have configured VLAN routing also. Remember, VLAN routing also we configured on router. So maybe I have configured VLAN routing also. Now router is doing routing, it is doing filtering, it is also doing VLAN routing. It is lots of tasks to do. And again I am saying the router to do DHCP also. So that can be a very difficult thing, and router may get slow. So it is not a good idea to configure router as a DHCP server. You should use a normal server like Windows or Linux server. For example, this is the server, and I can have this server configured as a DHCP. We have an option here configuring DHCP. So we can configure the DHCP also here. We have to just enable the pool, the service, and we can enable which port is using for the DHCP. There is only one port we have. Then we can use what gateway we want to use. So it will give this gateway. What is the DNS server? And then we can use the pool like from start IP to end IP. We can manage from start IP 1, and then we can go for the subnet and maximum number of users, that means IPs which you want to assign. We can mention the TFTP server also, we can mention the WC server also, and what this is already configured here with this, so we can change it. So we can select this to change. So I will change this. Gateway will be 70.100 and DNS will be 70.3. It will start assigning IP from 1 and it will assign 254 IP, and so that. Oops. Okay, I just enabled it. Now this server is also working as a DHCP server, and these clients can use the DHCP server. We can go here, we can go to desktop IP configuration, and we can use DHCP. And you can see it is getting the DHCP IP from the DHCP server. So we can do this, or we can use static IP. Now we can do this, or we can use the static IP. So basically we should use the normal server to work as a DHCP server. We should not use our router to work as a DHCP server. But if we like, then we can configure our router also to work as a DHCP server. This we can do. Suppose we are having a small network and we are not having a money to have a separate server, separate DHCP server for the network, and we just want to create a small network. We have small, suppose we have a site office which is a small site, and we don't have to have a server to store there. So we can just create our DHCP server. We can configure our router as a DHCP server also. So our router will handle the request for the DHCP, and it will give and it will assign the IP addresses to the clients. So we can do that also. And this is what we are going to do. So suppose I want to configure the DHCP server for this network here. So I will configure this router as a DHCP server. So how we will configure it? We will go to the router in the global configuration mode, we will give command IP DHCP. And when you give question mark, it says pool. First you have to create the pool of IP addresses which we want to allocate. So I want to create the pool, and then it says what is the name of your pool. So I will say okay, my name of the pool will be Cisco. You can give any name here. Let's say I will give Saigon. Now we are in the configuration mode for the DHCP. We are under now DHCP config mode. Now here what we can configure. So we can configure the router address, default gateway. We can configure the DNS address. We can configure the domain name. We can get exit from here, and with the network command we can configure the network. We can configure the network number and mask. And we can remove the configuration, and we can configure some advanced options of DHCP also. So first I will configure the default router. So for this network, the router address will be 10.100 for these machines. So I'm going to configure 10.0.0.100. Then for the DNS server, I will configure 70.0.0.3. This server as a DNS server for these machines. Then we can configure the domain name also. Let's say example.com. Then we can configure the network. Now network, that means your network number and dotted decimal notation. Network number, that means your network address. The network address which you want to allocate. The IP addresses. So this is the network address. Then you can mention the mask. So from this network address, this is like it is a pool, and is going to use this pool to assign the IP addresses. Options are the other options with the code. There are lots of different codes we have for the different DHCP options. So we can, if we want to configure those codes, then you can configure it from here. Now it is configured. The pool is already configured now. So just like you can see here, IP DHCP pool, then the name, and then in the mode you can configure the network address so that it will be use this network address as a pool. And from this pool, if you want to exclude some IP, then on the directly config mode we can run command IP DHCP exclude addresses. Then you can mention start and end IP addresses. So if you want to exclude some addresses which you don't want to assign to any devices, which you want to use manually, then you can mention here the router address which we have already configured. Then you can mention the DNS server address. You can mention the lease time. Lease time option is not given in our packet tracer because it is a packet tracer virtual. So if it is a real router, then you will get the lease time option also, where you can set the lease time, that how much time the router will lease the IP address. And to verifying the configuration, we can check show IP DHCP binding. It will show that which IP is given to which machine, which MAC address. And we can check the statistic by using show IP DHCP server command. It will show you the DHCP IP statistic also. We can check DHCP IP pool also. It will show the configured DHCP pool on the routers. So we have configured the pool. So the pool we have configured, and if we like to exclude any IP, so we can use this DHCP exclude addresses. Now I'm going to exclude only one address, and that address I will use here, 10.0.0.100. Now if you want to exclude range of addresses, then you will mention start address, and you will mention the start address, that is low IP address, and then you will mention the end address. Suppose I want to exclude the address from 10.100 to high IP address, that means the end address 10.0.0.200. That means it is going to exclude the addresses from 100 to 200. Now if you want to exclude a single address, then you can directly press enter. So this address will be excluded. So if any machine asks for the IP address, this IP will not be given. This IP we will use statically. And here why I have excluded this address, because this address I have used on the router interface statically. So I am not going to use it as a dynamically. Then we can check show IP DHCP binding pool information. So this is the pool we have used. Pool name, IP is not utilized anyway, and this IP current index, range, and lease no. Only lease is no. We have not assigned any IP till now. We have excluded one IP, and total IP available is this. Then what we'll do now, we will try to get the IP address from this router. I will go to these machines and try to get the IP address. So here I will go to the desktop, and by default it is on static. So I will go to DHCP. It is requesting, and now it got the IP address, and you can see it is getting the IP address, the first IP address 10.0.1, and this is the gateway it gets, and this is the DNS server it gets. So it gets these IP from what? Router. So when I go here and when I say I want to get the IP address, it is static. I want to get it from DHCP. So when you set it on DHCP, so it will send the discover packet, then the offer packet comes, then it sends the request, then acknowledgement, and then it will get the available IP. And now it gets the next IP 10.0.0.2. For this machine, this one is also getting the IP address. Then when we check on the router, show IP DHCP pool, now we can see here it says 3 IPs are leased. 3 IPs for those 3 machines. So address leased is 3, total is this, excluded address 1, and no pending event. If we check show IP DHCP binding, then it shows the IP addresses given to the MAC addresses. So it knows about the MAC address. That means when the client sends the request, it sends the request with the MAC address. So the MAC addresses of the client will be noted here, that this MAC address we have given this IP, this MAC address we have given this IP, this MAC address is given this IP, and this is all automatically assigned. We can check if any conflict is there. There is no conflict. Now conflicts happens when we have an IP address given statically, and that IP is also we have mentioned in the DHCP pool. Then it will happen the conflict. That means I have used one machine here and I have assigned the static IP there, and I am also using IP, like that IP is also I have used in the DHCP pool. For example, here I have used the whole range of 10. I have given the range to the DHCP, then I have said DHCP to allocate all the IP addresses from the range except this IP. I have excluded this IP. Now suppose I use one machine here, and on this machine I configure static IP. Remember, static IP will not change. So I configure 4. These all IPs I have configured statically. Now remember, I have given this range to the router also, the DHCP server also, that it will also give this IP to anyone. And if new machine comes now and asks for the DHCP, remember 1, 2 and 3 is already given. So next IP it will give is 4. But 4 I have already given to this machine, and that is statically. Remember, it will not change. Now this is statically given. It cannot change. But if I add new machine, now remember 1, 2 and 3 is given by the DHCP, and the next IP it will give is 4. But the 4 I have already used here statically. So what happened when I use this machine and I set DHCP to give IP? If I set this machine to get the IP address from DHCP, then what happened? The DHCP will give the IP address 10.0.0.4. Now that IP is already given to this machine, and that is static. So this will not change. It cannot change this IP because it is static. So this client will do what? It will send the reply to this DHCP server or this router saying that there is a conflict and this IP which you are giving me, it is already used. So this DHCP server, in case this router, what it will do? It will allocate the next IP to this next available IP to this machine. Let's see what happens here. So I'm going to use dynamic here. So when I say DHCP, the conflict will happen, and it is given what? 10.0.0.5. It has not given 4. Why? Because the 4 is already given to this machine. But first it try to give the 4 to this machine, but when it conflicts, then it will give 5 here. And now when you check the router, then you will see the conflict also. So here you will see that it says here, one error message came here that it said conflict, DHCP IP address conflict, server pinned this address. So server did? It pinned this address, that this is the address which I should not give to anyone because it is the conflicting address. So when you check DHCP conflict, now it is saying here that this address was conflicting by checking the ping command, and it was the date when it was conflicted. Now the DHCP server will never assign this IP to anyone. Now whose mistake is this? This is our mistake. We should have excluded this address also, so that it will not be conflicted. We should have excluded this address so that it should not be conflicted with this static address. So whatever addresses we use statically, we should exclude those addresses. But otherwise, if you don't exclude, the conflict will happen. And again, the DHCP server will not give that IP to anyone. Next is this DHCP relay. Now what is this DHCP relay? In many enterprises, what happened, the DHCP server will most likely not be the router. Remember, I said it will not be the router. It is not a good idea to configure router as a DHCP. And it will be located on the server farm. That means it will be a normal server, either it is Windows or Linux server, and it is located under the server farm. Server farm, that means the location where we have all the servers located. Web server, mail server, DHCP server, DNS server, all the servers, file servers, database servers. Now these may be the problem for clients who want to get an IP addresses. An IP helper address is a solution that enables routers in the network to forward DHCP broadcast messages from the local network to the DHCP server that may be in a different network. And in this situation, the router usually relays requests to the DHCP server, which then can communicate IP addressing information to the user device. And the commands needed to configure the router as a DHCP relay is shown below like this. We have to go to the particular interface which is connected to the DHCP server. and then we give a command IP helper address, and then we mention the IP address of the DHCP. Now what this means? That means suppose in a design, suppose you are having your machines in this network, and these machines are connected to a router. First they will connect to the switch, and then they will connect to the router. Now we have a DHCP server, but the DHCP server is available on the other subnet. It is not in this subnet, and we have configured the pool here in this subnet for this network. Now these hosts should get the IP address from this DHCP server. Now how they will get? They will send the broadcast discover packet, and it will go to the DHCP server. Then DHCP server will send the reply unicast. Now again these clients will send the request, and that is also broadcast. That request will go to this DHCP server, and then DHCP server will acknowledge with the unicast, and then these clients will get the acknowledgement, and then they will assign the IP address. Now the problem is this router. This router does not forward broadcast. So in first place, the routers will never forward the broadcast. So what happened to these discover packets, request packets? They will never go on the other subnet, and they will never reach to this DHCP server. Now in this case, we want to, if our situation is like this, then we have to configure this router as a DHCP relay agent. It is called DHCP relay agent. Now what it will do here, it will take the request from these clients. This is the broadcast request, and it will transfer the request as a unicast to the server. Remember, it is not forwarding broadcast. It will take the request from the client as a broadcast, and it will transfer the request to the server as a unicast. So it will do the communication, and it will act as a relay agent between client and DHCP server. And then what? The client will get the IP address also from the other subnet. And for that, we should configure the router as a DHCP relay agent, and that we will configure on that interface. Now for the practice, what I will do, I will configure this server as a DHCP server, and I will configure the pool for this network. So for this network, that means if this machine wants to get the IP from the DHCP, then they have to send the request to this DHCP server, which is in different subnet. So first I will configure the pool here. So I will go here, and I will go to DHCP, and this will be the pool, server pool. I will change the name. This will be pool 2, and then the gateway for this network will be 100. DNS, I will the DNS will be same. The range will be 50. This will be the IP addresses, no TFTP, no WLC, and I will save this range. So now you see, I have created new pool for this 50 network, and this is available, and this is connected here in this subnet. Now I have to configure the router as a DHCP relay so that it can forward the request to this DHCP server. We configure this server with a pool for the 50, network 50. Now network 50 is under this subnet in this side. So what we did here, we configure the router 3 and the interface which is connecting to this network is this fast Ethernet 0/0 of router 3. So we configure this interface a relay for the DHCP. So whenever these clients sends the request for the DHCP, it sends a request for DHCP. So request broadcast will go to this interface, and the router will accept the broadcast, and it will forward the broadcast to this, forward the request to this server, and this is what it forward unicastly. That means the request after this router goes unicast. So this router 4 will also not stop it, and it will send it to the router, and then this router will send the reply, and then these clients will get the IP. So what we did here on router 3, we go to the interface, fast Ethernet 0/0, and here we run the command IP helper address, and then we mention the address for the DHCP. So whatever the request it gets on this interface, it will forward the request unicastly to this server 3, server 70.3. So when you go to client here and you say I want to get the IP address dynamically, it is right now on static, and you want to get it dynamically, then you will get the IP address, and it is getting the IP address from this server, which is from the another subnet. The server is in another subnet, but it is still can give the IP address to this subnet, and the requests are going through these routers. Why? Because it is working as a relay agent. This router 3 is working as a relay agent. If you don't do that, then the request will not forward, because router cannot forward broadcast. To verify the configuration, we can check show running configuration, and it will show all the configurations like what we have configured. We have configured DHCP relay on this router. So if we want to check, we can check show running configuration, and we can see on that interface we have configured this DHCP relay. Now this network time protocol. This is what network time protocol, it is also called NTP. It is a protocol that synchronizes the clock of your network device. Correct network time within the network is important. It is important to allow the tracking of events in the network into correct order, and it is also clock synchronized is critical for the correct interpretation of events within the syslog. So, and also clock synchronized is critical for digital certificates. So this is very important for the routers and switches to have a proper and updated time. So we can configure the time manually, or we can do what? We can use the NTP server. NTP servers are like the network servers which can update the time of devices. So we can configure NTP server for the network, like we can configure Linux server as a NTP server, and by default our Windows Active Directory domain server is a time server. It is actually network time protocol server. So it also works as a time server. Then we can also have a time servers available on the internet. So if we want to make sure the time is properly updated, so we can sync our router or switches devices time from that servers. So we just have to get the IP address of the server, and we can do what? We can configure it in our router. So you are only accepted to configure NTP in the client mode. To do this, we need to specify the location on the NTP server. Remember, we can configure the router and switches only as a client. We cannot configure them as a NTP server. So there is only one command needed to configure NTP on the client, and we need to specify the IP address of the NTP server using the command NTP server. So we just have to mention the command to update the time, to mention the server of the NTP server on our network. To check the time, we can check show clock command. Show clock command will show you the current time and date, and to check the status of your NTP, you can check show NTP status. So first you need an NTP server in your domain, in your network, or if you're connected to internet and you want to get the time updated from the internet, then you have to know the IP address of the network time server on internet. So Microsoft Windows also have the time syncing from their own Microsoft time server, and we can also have some free available servers which can update. So you can just get the IP address and assign the IP address to the device, whatever device you have, router or switch. So for example, in our packet tracer, what we will do, in our packet tracer, the server which we have here, it also has NTP. Just like DHCP, it also has NTP protocol, and it also has this, and we can enable this. It is actually enabled by default, and you can see the time here and you can see the date here. So you can configure the time and date which you want to update, and the clients which wants to update the time from here, they will get this date and time. So let's see, I want to update it to my server, my router. So this router, I want to get the time updated from this server. So what I will do, I will go to this router, and first I will check show clock. Now what it is saying here, it is actually showing the time of March 1, 1993. Why it is showing this? Because this is the manufactured time. So whenever the router starts, it actually shows the time of the iOS version. So it is the time of the iOS version, and this is what, 1993. Now I want to get the update from the NTP server. So what I will do, I want to get the latest time and I want to sync the time from the NTP server. So I will go to configure mode, I will configure NTP server, and then I have to just mention the server address, and that is 70.3. Now let's check show clock command. Now it is still not updated. Let's check show NTP status, and what it is saying, clock is unsynchronized and no reference clock, and it is actually not updating till now. Okay, now it is updated. So the time is now updated, 18 February 2021, and this is the time. It took a little time to get the update, but it is updated. And if it is not getting the update, then you can also run the command NTP update calendar. It is to configure NTP update for the calendar. So it will update, and it will take a little time, but it will update. Then show NTP status will show the status. Now it is showing that reference is taking from this server, and it is getting the update from this server. So this is what the NTP. So this is how we can configure the router or even a switch to get the update from the NTP server, time update. Then we have seen how we can configure DHCP server on our router, how we can configure DHCP relay agent, and also we have seen what, the CDP. So this is the topic, configuring CDP, DHCP and NTP on our sister routers.